In a previous interview, you talked about struggling throughout the season. So what changed and how are you able to turn the page so that the end of the season...
At the start of the 2024 season, Lexie Hull looked like she might slip away from the WNBA spotlight. In 2022, she was the 6th overall pick, a player once projected as a franchise cornerstone who had shined at Stanford. But under former coach Christie's sides, she was stuck at the very end of the bench, overtaken by role players in the rotation, logging more time collecting splinters than minutes on the court. The whispers only grew louder. Would Hull ever deliver on her promise, or was she destined to vanish into the long list of draft busts?
You played basketball, your dad, and you have a twin sister who you played basketball with growing up. What was it like growing up in that family dynamic?
Well, we have a super competitive family, and, having my dad play basketball collegiately, knew that basketball was going to be put in my hands at an early age, but my parents were, super excited about having us try every sport imaginable. So yeah, we grew up.
Then the earthquake hit. A once-in-a-generation force, Caitlin Clark didn't just arrive in Indiana. She rewired it. Her presence didn't dilute the fever, it redefined them. She was lightning in sneakers, and every ounce of expectation pressed down on her shoulders. The offense found its rhythm the moment Clark touched the floor in Indiana. Every player's role shifted as the chemistry started to spark. For Lexie Hull, this was more than another teammate. It was a lifeline. Dropping Lexie Show in the comments is the perfect way to show her some love. Go ahead.
The clutch player by WNBA fans, and she was drafted to the W in 2022 with the Indiana Fever in the first round as the 6th pick. I'm talking about professional basketball player Lexie.
Shays and Paul sat down for a conversation on basketball and the dunker spot, and she didn't hold back. She laid out exactly what shifted inside that locker room. How Clark's arrival didn't just boost the roster, it rewrote her career path and sparked the Fever's rise from a struggling franchise into one of basketball's most compelling stories. This is bigger than one player's comeback. It's about leadership, redemption, and a cultural reset that could shape the Indiana Fever's entire future.
Well, part of the transition is really tough. Everybody out on the court was one of the best players on their college teams, definitely the best player likely from their high school team. So it's just this mishmash of the best basketball players, and then you're playing against people that have been there for years.
For Hull, the opening stretch of 2024 was nothing short of brutal. Even with her high draft stock and a decorated college career, she couldn't carve out a place in the regular rotation. Instead, Hull sat on the bench, towel draped over her shoulders, while players with half a ceiling, like Katie Lou Samuelson and Christy Wallace, stepped in and claimed her minutes.
Sick that we had lost so many games, and also feeling like
That sting cut deep. It wasn't just the physical drop from Stanford standout to Indiana bench warmer. The real battle was climbing the mental mountain that came with it.
So to be that open person, you get excited. You get excited for the opportunity to shoot and score. And
the Fever stumbled to a brutal 1-8 start, sliding fast into free fall. Fans in Indianapolis searched for answers after the rough opening, but none seemed to come. We felt like we were better than this, and we were just tired of losing so many games. On the floor, there was no chemistry, shaky rotations, soft defense, and a flood of negative headlines. The weight inside the locker room was suffocating, and as the whole ship looked like it was sinking, Hull wrestled with her own doubts from the bench.
Like playing off of Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston.
I mean, they make my job really easy, right? It's awesome. And it's really cool to see all of them just grow, not only from this year, but playing 3 years with Kelsey, 2 years with Aaliyah.
However, Hull refused to let the story end there. She leaned harder into the grind instead of breaking, sharpening her jumper, tightening her cuts, and staying locked in for any chance that came her way. Through it all, she leaned on the support of her teammates. They believed in her talent even when the box score didn't. That belief became her fuel.
Fun because they garner so much attention, obviously, from the other team's defense. So then it allows the other players, me included, to make cuts, make reads, and they're really good at finding, those openings and giving the ball up when it's needed and finding the better shot. So it's really fun, and I feel really lucky.
Everything shifted the moment Clark showed up. It was like someone flipped the lights back on the second Caitlin stepped into the locker room. Practices buzzed with life again. Arenas started to fill, and Indiana stopped being the league's punchline. It became a must-watch show. Everyone around Clark had to match her intensity, her drive, her competitive fire. And we practice against guys. And if they aren't winning, Caitlin will do whatever it takes to make them compete, she said, laughing as Paul joined in. It's not just energy. It's a completely different picture.
I definitely got passes and tried to finish when I wasn't expecting to get the ball. So like now it's like, okay, every cut I have, every cut I make, every fast break I run, like I have a real opportunity to get the ball, which definitely like took me a second. And I think it really just took one of those to really get my head around like, oh, she's all the way down at the other end of the floor and she could still make the pass to me down at the block at this end. So,
beyond her star power, Clark possessed a basketball mind that was sharp and forward-thinking. Like a seasoned quarterback, she read defenses and threaded passes into spaces her teammates hadn't even noticed. It was eye-opening for Hall. She suddenly found scoring chances she'd never seen before. Hull admitted, she's making passes I didn't think were possible. Like a magnet, Clark drew defenders in, and her vision dismantled them, creating opportunities for players across the floor. The Fever's offense was no longer stagnant. It was thriving.
It's so fun to be able to know that you're not just cutting to cut, knowing that you're cutting with the possibility of like actually making a really cool play. So that makes it.
Knowing you're not just cutting for the sake of cutting is thrilling. Realizing you're giving up the chance to pull off a truly spectacular play makes it feel even more meaningful. Clark carried a contagious fire. A belief that hadn't existed before ignited from her competitive edge and spread across the roster. Players who had questioned themselves suddenly felt they could challenge anyone. Beyond putting up points, the rookie radiated a confidence that mattered to Hall. In one commanding sweep, Clark's maturity and leadership clicked instantly, lifting both team morale and performance.
Sees the game at a bigger scale, obviously with the platform that she's created for herself, and then that's transitioned to the game. It's huge. And I think like for me, especially as a point guard and as someone that's delivering a lot of the passes that lead to shots, like if I miss, she's definitely going to say like, you got the next one. Like I can count on her for keeping me like confident and positive. So yeah, I think that shows the player that she is and the leadership.
The results quickly began to show. Once they found their rhythm, the Fever turned into a deadly offensive force. Paul even noted that when every cut carries a real chance to make a play, the game becomes far more exhilarating. Clark provided that chance. She was more than a star. She became a catalyst, reshaping Hull's and her teammates' paths in real time. Yet the bigger question remained. Had Indiana's season truly shifted with this spark? Only the grind of the coming weeks would reveal the answer.
As well, because, she's a great person, but you have all these expectations put on her, and our team has put on her, and fans have put on her. So to see her kind of be so mature in that transition, it's been really awesome. And I'm just really proud to, have her on.
It wasn't cameras or spotlight that made the difference. In practice, it happened quietly. Hull explained that those sessions became battles rather than routine drills. Clark demanded that scrimmages turn into contests. She forced the team to instantly fix any mistakes. No shortcuts, no excuses. Her relentless drive raised the standard, and everyone else had to meet it. The coaches noticed it too. Sluggish practices suddenly gained energy, and from that fire, a real team identity began to emerge.
What was that like for you to be a part of that?
I'm really grateful for the opportunity to not only play in the WNBA, but to be on a team like the Indiana Fever. I've seen so much growth, not only on the team side, how we're performing on the court, but also the growth in fans. I mean, on the road, it felt like home games. We're playing in sold out arenas that we have not played in the last 2 years before that. So, it's just really exciting.
For Hull, the transformation wasn't just about the team, it was a deeply personal journey.
All of it comes down to trusting the process, and
It wasn't just the team that changed. It was an incredibly personal journey.
A full month of practice pretty much during the Olympic break, and they would put up every day after practice our shooting percentages from 2s and 3s during drills, during scrimmages, during everything. And I think that helped me because, some people would probably like, it's so annoying, whatever, but I personally...
For Hall, the change wasn't only about the team. It was a profoundly personal journey.
And they're very drastic. My first 2 years, I was just so upset because I was putting in so much work, and my shooting percentages, I would granted get like 1 or 2 at the max 3s a game. So it's hard to be super efficient when the pressure is really on for those couple shots. But the numbers don't lie. So it really allows you.
Hall dedicated herself to sharpening her skills, chasing consistency with her jumper, and perfecting the finer points of her game. We practiced for an entire month during the Olympic break, she said. I gained the confidence I needed after seeing my shooting percentages rise. When the lights came on, all the work done in the shadows paid off. By the second half of the season, Hall was more than just a backup option. She had cemented her role as a crucial piece of the Indiana offense. Without Caitlin Clark, none of this would have been possible. Her presence alone bends defenses, giving Hall what feels like a wide-open runway. Hall said that the focus Kelsey and Caitlin draw lets players like herself cut and find openings, and those openings quickly turn into points. Hall's shooting percentages climbed. She grew more confident and started delivering when it counted most. Suddenly, Indiana wasn't just keeping up. It was exploding. Their chemistry became impossible to ignore as the Fever kept piling up wins. Hall said, "We never turned on each other. That mindset and unity carried us through the hard times." Fans felt it too. High-empty arenas suddenly filled as social media exploded with clips, admiration, and cheers for this revitalized Fever squad. Hall reflected on the thrill of those home games. "We felt an energy we hadn't experienced in years performing for a sold-out crowd. The depth of its impact is hard to put into words." Once desperate for a winner, Indianapolis was buzzing again for the first time in years.